Veronica, what's the latest there? What are officials trying to do now?
Well, Stephen, we've been seeing some movement coming from some of the EMPD officers as well as officials just around the bus, and I can imagine that is an effort to try and rescue at least the 2 other bodies that remain trapped inside the inside the bus, rather, that is overturned on its side, as you can see, lying there in the road with its shattered windows and crumpled frame, really just bearing witness to this horrific crash. As we know at the moment, there is that efforts to try and clear the bodies. We heard from my colleague Linda that efforts are now being made, but there is still a bit of a standstill in regards to what happens now in regards to the bodies that remain there. We know, of course, the tragedy of the 12 people that lost their lives, 9 men and 3 women. Stephen, you can imagine this could be 3 mothers, 3 sisters, 9 family members that belong to people who, of course, are now starting to really start to scramble to find out whether or not it was their loved ones that were affected in this horrific bus crash. And again, Stephen, really what just remains such a difficult image and scene to look at is the belongings of the passengers that are scattered across the road. We know that the paramedics are still on the scene and trying to work tirelessly to attend to the entrapped 2 people who remain inside of this wreckage. But ultimately, really now, what is going to be the next form and the next step is those family members that are now hurrying to some of those hospitals, as we mentioned earlier, from Edenvale Hospital to Tembisa, to try and at least see if their family members have survived this incident. We are seeing some of the officials now, just as well as forensics and pathologists, coming just a bit closer to the scene just to get a sense of what is happening. But as soon as these bodies start to be removed and perhaps the bus being towed away, we will give you a further update. But for now, Stephen, really the still image of heartbreak, the still image of horror that shows just the unexpected crash that took place here, that has really now left quite a somber scene for many family members, and really an opportunity as well to just look at how much more needs to change in terms of what is happening. Of course, this comes off the back of just another bus crash yesterday. Stephen.
And Veronica, obviously huge operations underway to try and deal with this situation.
Absolutely. In fact, in response to the accident, 4 of these northbound lanes have been closed, and motorists, of course, have been urged to use alternative routes. And you can imagine that this crash has caused major disruptions, with traffic, of course, being gridlocked for some miles. But there has been quite, a good attempt by EMPD to divert that traffic. But of course, the devastation really does now begin in terms of clearing these bodies and starting to inform those families, and of course the bodies that will be taken to the mortuary for them to be identified, and of course for investigations to take place from the Ekurhuleni municipality side, given that this is of course one of their buses. And you know, Stephen, just really looking at the way the scene would have played out, as I've mentioned before, that you can see in fact just on the road itself, just how this bus took a turn and of course began to flip over. You can see a barricade, in fact, as well, has been opened and plunged through. And it shows you just the impact of this accident and what could have happened. And of course, the way in which some of the, parts of the bus, including seats, have been scattered across the road. The windscreen and shields have also been dismantled across the road. And it just shows just the severe impact of what has happened. And, while, of course, we are mourning the 12 lives that this accident has claimed, there is also just reports that, it could have been far worse, given how busy this road is at the time of day that this accident happened, given the traffic that flows from here, of course, to the airport and back, and saying that, with this bus being overturned, it could have been, far more worse in terms of the busyness of this road. But for now, Stephen, we just continue to monitor and watch some of those officials as they conduct their work, their investigation. This is also part of the understanding understanding of what actually transpired here, Stephen, as they continue just to monitor the scene and, of course, the efforts to try and rescue those 2 other bodies entrapped inside this wreckage.
Veronica Makhoali, thank you. Linda Mnisi also there for you this morning. Linda, you've been there for some time now. Obviously, investigations ongoing. What are officials saying about what happened?
All right, Stephen. So from what we're being told right now is that they've made way for the accident unit to come in and, of course, assess the situation. This includes the investigations where pictures will be taken to try and determine, how this accident happened. You would have seen on the road there, cones being placed to try and, of course, ensure that they are marking various spots that could possibly give an indication of what exactly could have transpired during this particular accident. So they've handed the scene over to them to try and determine, of course, and do their work. You would have seen at the beginning of this process, those who were guarding the scene, those who were close to the scene, EMS officials, and other medical emergency service officials who are at the scene were asked to leave so that this process takes place. And while it takes place, on standby, a forensic pathologist who are already waiting, who have lined up their vehicles to try and make sure that once the scene is cleared for them to come, then they can then move in and start doing their job. We also spoke to some of the other officials who are at the scene who are telling us, Stephen, that they're on standby to try and remove, or they've been asked to come and try to remove the bus from the scene. So they'll be removing it and are waiting for everybody else to finish their work. So it's departments and other departments really working together to ensure that this process is smooth, but most importantly, that important information is picked up and nothing is really left out. So you would have seen earlier, we were also asked to move and not come too close to the scene because, authorities don't want us to contaminate the scene. It was for this reason that, they asked us to leave so that when these officials that you're seeing on your screen right now arrive, they're able to pick up all the possible clues that could give clues as to what really happened. This is important information, Stephen, that not only helps authorities but also brings closure to the family members to get a sense and know exactly what happened to their loved ones. Some of them who have already started gathering around the scene, have many questions that they need answered. And this is an important step, an important process to get to those answers, to get to the point where they know exactly how everything happened. So those forensic investigators are combing the scene at the moment to try and preserve and get as much information as possible so that at a later stage, once investigations are concluded, they will then be able to then determine what exactly happened. But at the moment, all we have is the word from the passengers who have survived this tragic accident, who told us what happened, and of course the report from the authorities who said they received a message around 6:45 this morning, 6:45, about this incident that transpired. Stephen?
Linda Mnisi, our team, Veronica Makhoali, and our team there as well. Thank you very much indeed for that. You can see, of course, the helicopter there. You can see officials on phones just trying to work out what exactly is happening, trying to get the latest. Also, of course, you can see people who are walking across the pedestrian bridge there, stopping to have a look. And you can just imagine the curiosity, of course, entirely human, to be curious in a situation like that. Fire trucks there as well. And then traffic passing by on the other side, sort of what you would call virtually midday traffic in that area, in that direction. The northbound R21 is still closed.